family of a missing woman speaking out after she disappeared in the Sierra National Forest back on June 26. Sandra Hughes' niece says she has not heard from her aunt since her disappearance. Hughes' camp, documents, personal information was found in the Johnson Meadow area between Bayshore and Minarets Road.
The search continues for a missing Quad City native. Bill Thorpe was last seen in Bryce County National Park in Utah on Thursday, September 1st. Searchers are using rescue dogs, helicopters, and drones. Thorpe's family is making sure right now to stay optimistic.
National parks are a location for family enjoyment, camping, and adventure. Every year, millions of Americans and international travelers visit national parks across the world, and maybe even some of you have been there yourselves or live within or near a national park. However, the fact of the matter is, the National Park and Forest Services do not want you to know that there is a sinister aspect to our national parks, which is a subject that I've covered before on this channel, many times in fact. And the sad truth is, with tens of thousands of people visiting these forests and parks, whether it be Yellowstone or the Smoky Mountains, while mysterious and beautiful, some who visit these areas walk through the entrances and never walk back out or are ever heard from again. And even more strange is the fact that it's been found to be extremely difficult to do research into the high rate of missing people linked to the numerous national parks spanning America. And according to former park rangers, military men, and even police officers, the National Park Service does not want anyone researching or looking into these mysterious cases of missing people. One of those ex-police officers, who's now retired and has had the courage to come out and publicly scrutinize the handling of these cases, is a man by the name of David Paulides. And you may know him as the man behind the wildly successful book series and documentary films known as The Missing 411. David has been on Secure Team 10 twice before for an interview, of which you can still find on my channel. But even more exciting, Dave just released his newest documentary, and I found after watching the film, he does something that he hasn't really touched on in his books or his past documentaries on this subject, which is a new angle to the mystery that could lead to the true answer as to why people are not only going missing in these parks, but are disappearing in some of the most mysterious and bizarre and downright unexplainable circumstances. This new film covers the UFO angle, which, as I said earlier, Dave has never really gone in depth into before. And after watching this new film, which is broken up into parts, you definitely get a new perspective on what just may be happening in our national parks. And so before we go any further, here is the trailer to that new film, which is called Missing 411: The UFO Connection.
This is the location of a missing hunter.
So it looks like people are snatched off the ground, and then some of them are dropped back miles and miles away.
For thousands of years, the human species has looked to the skies in amazement at unidentified objects. We are staring at unconventional possibilities supported by witnesses, video, and most recently, our own government. I have investigated hundreds of cases that push the limits of standard everyday police protocol.
The three witnesses saw this object picking up the elk.
There was no cable, nothing discernible holding the elk to the craft.
I know what happened to me. It happened in 1974. Next thing I know, I was in this cubicle.
In many stories, children are right there, and then the next second they're gone. After reading thousands of reports, I started to document what is called profile points. The number one profile point is lack of scent trail.
It was unusual that they had that many tracking dogs and never found a track.
The more you hear, the stranger the story gets. Why send a SWAT team on a missing person case?
When I saw that, that's when I, went down on my knees.
they are connected to extra-dimensional beings. Those are real.
How do you explain to a grieving family that something paranormal may be tied to the disappearance?
So there is the trailer for you guys. My wife and I watched this a couple days ago, and I'm about to watch it for a second time because I was blown away, and so was she. Whenever something really cool comes up, especially something that I personally enjoyed watching or is a subject that I have done videos on, I definitely wanted to shout it out, and so I'll put the links to this down below. But yeah, Dave is an awesome guy, and if you guys are new to the Missing 411, well, in a nutshell, it's the name of a book series. It started out as a book, and then later in the last few years transitioned to documentaries on the subject of missing people from every age and walk of life vanishing into thin air in our national parks. And I will link at the end of this to a video I did that thoroughly explains and goes through some of the most mysterious unsolved cases of these disappearances. And there are several videos, and if you go to my channel and just search the term 411 or national parks, you can find all of these videos and watch them. I promise you, they'll definitely unnerve you and make you want to learn more, just like it did me 5 or 6 years ago when I very first interviewed Dave, and before that I had never even heard of the Missing 411 or really this phenomenon, or that someone had done so much research into it. And one thing I always asked Dave regarding this phenomenon was whether he thought it had something to do with UFOs, and he always kind of just left it up to the people. So when I found out he put this film out that specifically covers the UFO connection and angle, I could not have been happier. It's his third documentary, which reveals the first evidence documenting a link between UFOs and missing people. Another thing I thought really awesome about this film is that in it, Dave's team found a report about a group of workers that actually witnessed an elk being abducted by a UFO, and these individuals were interviewed by trained investigators. The film also features evidence that in specific regions of the United States, there are hunters of a very specific heritage who continually vanish while out there elk hunting, which I thought was pretty crazy. And so this 10-year project brings together top officials from the FBI, local law enforcement, search team members, and others that describe a spellbinding fact trail that will leave many asking more questions from officials who seem to be wanting to cover this phenomenon up for some reason. So, do UFOs play a major part in the Missing 411 and missing persons phenomenon within our national parks? I definitely think there is a UFO aspect to the perhaps millions of people that have gone missing and are never heard from again. And I thought this new film was awesome, and it definitely covered some very intriguing stories and eyewitness accounts. And, I don't want to give it away. So if you haven't seen Dave's new film yet, you can check it out. Links are down below. Show him some love. He's definitely earned it, especially in a day and age where the UFO narrative has been taken over and is now being operated by some of the biggest charlatans I've ever met. Dave is the real deal. Much respect to these guys for trying to make a difference. Now let's get to some UFO footage. Here's a clip of some unidentified luminous objects creating a triangular formation captured recently on December 6th over Minnesota. So check this out.
The one on the bottom right looks red. They're like not moving right. They're
Okay, so very interesting footage. It's been featured a few different times on YouTube Shorts. And oddly enough, the triangle formation is, coincidentally, the same UFO featured on the poster artwork for Dave's new film. And in this footage, I'm not sure if the audio is set up to where it's voice activated, which is why you have these silent portions of it. It probably is, but we have this formation of lights, and you guys, if you've been with me for a while, you have seen this countless times. We've talked about cloaked craft in the sky, and when it comes to these, where instead of a solid dark triangular craft, you'll have 3 lights, one on each end, that's when we get into, is this something cloaked? Is this 3 separate objects? And in this footage, it starts out with the lights in a perfect formation, and if this were some sort of cloaked or invisible object that is emanating maybe some sort of plasma distortion from each of its corners, as has been theorized as to why these things seem to be lit on the corners, if this were a solid craft, it suddenly looks to turn, at which point we see it at an angle, almost like we're viewing it from the top, and then as the object turns toward its side, we are then seeing it from the side. But we're still able to see all 3 lights. So very interesting footage. Tell me what you guys think. This occurred above Minnesota. So if you have any footage, send it in. My email is down below, and I'd love to feature it here on the channel. So next piece of strangeness comes in the form of a video which relates directly to my last video on the channel, which if you haven't seen, there was a clip in that video where I featured a mainstream news story about a group of sheep, I believe it was, that began walking in a circle and did so for over 12 days straight. And this happened in China, where they had, hundreds of pens of these cattle and sheep, but only in one single pen did these sheep suddenly walk in a circle and continuously do so for 12 days straight. And really strange. It hit the mainstream, and so here is a new clip of a flock of birds, and the title of the video was, quote, "Another flock of birds flying in circles above California." And so apparently there is previous footage to this of other flocks of birds doing the same thing, and just like the sheep, they are just flying around in the same circular area as if something's wrong. And as we know, animals, specifically birds, really start acting strangely when something is off, whether it be with the Earth's magnetic field, if there's a UFO occurrence in the area, they will vanish. Some people say that if suddenly you see birds vanishing, then you need to get out of wherever you are because something is wrong. This was just really eerie footage, and I wasn't there. I don't have the full story, so it may be natural, but it certainly wasn't natural to the people that recorded it and who were there and who have been seeing things like this happening all over. Okay guys, so next here, let's go from the skies down to the seas, and we have 2 different clips of UFOs emerging or hovering near our oceans.
What the fuck is this thing? Just stayed in that spot for like 10 seconds.
Okay, so short clip, and I wish we had more footage, but the footage that we have here is definitely something we can work with, and shows, in my opinion, something really odd happening. And I can't explain it. The object, which appears to be a solid or semi-solid white orb or sphere, it doesn't look like a drone. It doesn't look like a kite. I don't see anyone in the water. It's hovering there. It goes up, it goes down, it sort of bobs there for a minute. I go to the beach almost every year on vacation in North Carolina Beach, and you'll have birds there that sort of dive bomb into the water to catch fish. And this object just doesn't look like that to me either. At no point do we see it go into the water, and it doesn't move like a bird. It doesn't seem to be circling the water. It's a true mystery. Wish we had some more information, but unfortunately we don't. Now, this next clip is of another mysterious, bright, glowing object that is said to have been moving at high speeds through the water off of the coast of California, where it was caught on surveillance camera or possibly a webcam on a beach in Encinitas, California. Within this footage, it's described online that at some point this UFO, another glowing orb or object, was said to have been moving quickly directly underneath the waves, right in the shallow area of the waters before emerging and quickly vanishing, but not before there is a bright flash of light that occurs as well. Some have said that when zoomed in on the bright flash that occurs there, that you can see what looks to be a triangle-shaped UFO. And so I will let you guys be the judge of that. The ocean, only 10% of which has ever been touched by mankind or explored, is an alien planet in and of itself, and very likely could be a hub and source of much of the UFO activity we have seen. Especially for some reason, the coasts of California are hotbeds for UFO activity. We've discovered what appear to be underwater bases. The mainstream news, of course, and the Pentagon is all over, UFOs and their connection to the ocean. So what do you think of these two clips? What do you think about this flock of birds circling over and over along with the mystery lights above Minnesota? Put it down in the comments. Throw this video a like if you enjoyed it. And again, I can't stress enough what an awesome film the Missing 411 UFO Connection was. So check that out if you haven't yet. Link is down in the video description. Big thanks to Dave for sending me over some clips and for agreeing to come back on for an interview about the film and about this phenomenon as a whole. So check out my previous videos on it. Links are below. You guys stay safe. Christmas is almost here. So with that in mind, we will end today's video in the holiday spirit. So you guys stay tuned, and I'll see you back in just a bit.